Which pill will you take, lymphomies? Will you take the orange pill, nicknamed Red Devil? It will make you sit in the hospital for weeks on end and have you contemplating unaliving every single resident doctor you come across. Or will you take the black pill, the most boring life or death experience you will ever have in your entire life, stuck in a room with the constant sound of filtered air and happy nurses perform a ritual on you called a rebirth day while you boil over in rage? Nah, if you have blood cancer, you know you're doing both. What is up, lymphomies? It is Hazardous Nick, here to discuss a question from the comment section. Today's video comes from a subscriber named Frank. Hello Frank, I hope you're doing well. Check out his videos, he's actually documenting his own cancer journey. The question was if I could explain the difference between beam chemotherapy and induction chemotherapy. And I thought it was an amazing idea for a video because this was one of my biggest anxieties before my stem cell transplant. The induction chemotherapy I received was called R-EPOCH, which is short for Rituxan, doxorubicin, vincristine, etoposide, and Cytoxan. And the chemotherapy I received before my stem cell transplant is called BEAM, which is short for ECNU or cormustine, etoposide, cytarabine, and melphalan, my ultra nemesis. So I will be explaining the difference from a patient's point of view. Quick disclaimer, everybody's different, everybody reacts different, and everyone's cancer is different. This is why cancer itself is so hard to treat. Just because I experienced something doesn't necessarily mean that you or whoever you know who's going through cancer will experience the same thing. Overall, I'm going to say BEAM was much harder, and I'm going to explain why. Overall, I think BEAM was harder because I was in a very weak state. I had just gone through 6 rounds of induction chemo, and my body just had enough. Okay, first thing I want to discuss is the infusion itself. R-EPOCH was much longer. I was in the hospital for a week at a time, and my only breaks in between the chemo I would receive were the bags of pre-meds. So 4 bags of pre-meds total, 15 minutes each, and that was the break in between the 24-hour bags of orange death chemotherapy that I received. BEAM is short. It's much more like outpatient chemotherapy. I believe I had 4 days total of BEAM chemotherapy when in the hospital for my stem cell transplant. And the longest session was 2 hours in a day, which was nothing for me. The reason they keep you in the hospital for so long is because BEAM is designed to totally kill off your remaining bone marrow. Your immune system is totally gone and you're starting from zero. Until you get your stem cell transplant itself and your cell counts start rising, you're much more at risk of death than you were during the chemo or your stem cell transplant. Let's talk about the side effects. Both have nasty side effects. I am just being real with you here. However, BEAM had side effects that were much worse. Oral thrush was the big one. I did not experience this side effect with R-EPOCH whatsoever. They both cause chemically induced menopause in women, which, Frank, you're lucky you don't have to deal with that. Hot flashes. They both caused me horrible stomach pain. They both caused horrible acid reflux. And the big one with BEAM is the melphalan causes, what is it called? Mucositis. I wasn't at risk of mucositis during my induction chemotherapy. Okay, now I'm going to discuss the detox period. What do I mean by that? The time it took to feel better after the infusion itself. So when I was going through R-EPOCH, the 4 days afterwards where I would go home, I would call the epitome of human suffering. BEAM definitely had a longer detox period. It took me much longer to feel better after the initial infusion of those drugs. And what I mean by feel better is I didn't feel like death. It did take over a year to feel healthy again after a stem cell transplant, but we're strictly talking about the detox period from the drugs themselves. Whereas R-EPOCH, for the first 4 rounds at least, 4 days and I was better. It was like clockwork. I did get weaker and it was harder to recover the longer I got into the regimen. rounds 4, 5, and 6. But overall, it took me a longer period of time to get over the side effects of BEAM. A stem cell transplant is extremely hard to go through. It is boring. It is painful. With both sets of drugs, your skin just crawls. I mean, it is not an easy thing to go through. And if you're going through this right now, you are badass. You can do this. Time is definitely on your side. I say this a lot, but I really mean it. I can't believe I'm almost 7 years out of a stem cell transplant this December. And now I can sit here in the comfort of my dining room and help other people get through this extremely hard time. For those of you going through this, don't worry. Don't listen to anybody else when they say it's going to bring you to the point of life or death. And I let this information get to me so bad to the point where I didn't want to get this procedure done. I was asking my doctors what the risks of recurrence were if I didn't do this. And that would have been a very bad decision because this procedure saved my life. I am now 7 years in remission. Very thankful. And it sucks, but you will get through it. Everyone is in the hospital for their own length of time. I was in for 12 days after a stem cell transplant. Everyone's different. If you're in the hospital longer, it doesn't mean you're a failure, it doesn't mean anything. It just means this is the amount of time your body needs to recover from this very, very difficult procedure. And also, don't let anyone tell you that it's just an infusion. It's a big deal. When you get a cold, when you're in the hospital for a stem cell transplant, they treat you like a trauma patient in the ER. To Frank, may God get you through this procedure. Let time be as on your side as it was mine. And thank you for your question. If anyone has any questions whatsoever, feel free to comment on any one of my videos. I try to look at every single comment. If I don't see it, if I don't reply to it, that means that I didn't see it. YouTube does a terrible job at letting me know I have a comment, but I try to answer everyone as best I can. And it doesn't matter if the video is 5 years old. It doesn't matter if I haven't posted a video in months. I will get to it. And thank you so much, and God bless you all. Have a great day. Bye.